Acquisitions. The corporate transactions where one company purchases a majority or all of another company's shares or assets to gain direct control of its operations. Corporate fluency. Conclusions derived from data analysis that can be directly translated into a concrete business strategy, decision, or operational action. Boardroom. The keenness, depth of perception, and speed in assessing and dealing with complex business situations to achieve a positive outcome. Cross-functional. A specialized professional consulting service that provides expert analysis, strategic guidance, and actionable recommendations to organizations facing complex business decisions. Negotiation. An operational strategy focused on building a flexible production system capable of rapidly responding to unexpected market shifts and custom customer requests. Linguistic nuance. An iterative, collaborative project management approach focused on continuous improvement, flexibility, and rapid delivery of software or business solutions. Global logistics. The capacity of an organization to rapidly adapt, pivot, and respond efficiently to market changes, technological advancements, and unexpected threats. Professional success. The rapid, premium logistics service of transporting high-value or time-sensitive commercial cargo via commercial airplanes or dedicated cargo aircraft. Enterprise. A non-negotiable contract and receipt issued by an air carrier that details the cargo description, shipping destination, and terms of transport for air freight. Leadership. The gradual, systematic write-off of the initial cost of an intangible asset, or the structured repayment of a debt obligation over a specified period. Synergistic. The systematic and computational analysis of data or statistics to discover meaningful patterns, trends, and correlations that inform business decisions. Integration. A comprehensive report on a company's activities, operational achievements, financial performance, and audited balance sheets throughout the preceding year. Silo mitigation. The legal policies, compliance audits, and corporate internal controls designed to prevent, detect, and penalize bribery and financial fraud within an organization. Resource optimization. A highly protective tariff imposed by a domestic government on foreign imports that it believes are priced significantly below fair market value to crush local competition. Competencies. A strict set of international laws, regulatory standards, and compliance procedures designed to prevent criminals from disguising illegally obtained funds as legitimate income. Foresight. The simultaneous purchase and sale of an asset in different markets to exploit minor price differences and secure risk-free profits. Acumen. An alternative dispute resolution method where an independent, neutral third party acts as a private judge to review a contract dispute and issue a legally binding decision. Harmonization. The conceptual framework and structural design defining the organization, components, and integration patterns of an IT system or enterprise infrastructure. Execution. The simulation of human intelligence processes by computer systems, enabling machines to learn, reason, solve problems, and adapt to new data inputs. Stakeholders. An investment strategy that aims to balance risk and reward by dividing a portfolio's assets among major categories such as stocks, bonds, cash, and real estate. Asset management. The systematic process of developing, operating, maintaining, upgrading, and disposing of an organization's physical and financial assets cost-effectively. Asset tracking. The continuous monitoring of physical equipment, vehicles, or high-value inventory items using barcode scanners, RFID tags, or live GPS telemetry. Asynchronous workflows. Operational processes designed so that team members can collaborate, complete tasks, and review projects on their own schedules without requiring real-time interaction. Audit. An independent, systematic evaluation of an organization's financial records, operational processes, or compliance posture to verify accuracy and adherence to standards. Auditing. The objective examination and evaluation of an organization's financial statements and operational controls to ensure regulatory compliance and accuracy. Automation. The application of technology, programs, and robotics to execute repetitive tasks and workflows with minimal human intervention, increasing speed and reducing errors. Backlog. A continuously updated, prioritized list of features, bug fixes, technical requirements, and tasks that need to be addressed by a project team. Balance sheet. A core financial statement providing a detailed snapshot of a company's total assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity at a specific point in time. Bandwidth. The capacity, time, or mental resources available to an individual or team to take on additional projects, tasks, or responsibilities. Base erosion and profit shifting. Corporate tax planning strategies used by multinational enterprises to artificially shift profits from high tax jurisdictions to low or zero tax countries. Basel Standards. The comprehensive global regulatory frameworks and capital adequacy accords established by the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision to manage systemic financial risks. Bear market. A prolonged period of market decline where asset and stock prices drop by 20% or more from recent highs amid widespread investor pessimism and economic slowdown. Benchmarking. The process of measuring an organization's performance, metrics, and processes against industry best practices or top competitors to drive improvement. Best practices. The methods, techniques, or processes that have consistently demonstrated results superior to those achieved through other means within an industry. Big data. Large, complex, and rapidly accumulating datasets that require advanced analytical techniques and specialized software tools to process and extract valuable insights. Bill of lading. A legally binding document issued by a carrier to a shipper that details the type, quantity, and destination of the goods being carried, serving as a receipt of shipment. Blockchain. A decentralized, immutable distributed ledger technology that securely records transactions across a network of computers, preventing tampering or unauthorized alteration. Board composition. The deliberate mix of executive directors, independent directors, and industry experts who make up an organization's board of directors to ensure balanced oversight. Boardroom. The formal meeting room where an organization's directors gather to make high-level decisions and set strategic direction. Bonded warehouse. A secure, customs-approved facility where imported goods can be stored, manipulated, or undergo manufacturing processes without immediate payment of customs duties. Bottleneck. A point of congestion or constraint in a production system or supply chain that stops progress and reduces the capacity of the entire workflow. Brand equity. The commercial value, premium pricing capability, and consumer loyalty generated by a company's public perception and brand recognition over time. Brand protection. The strategic, legal, and operational measures taken by a corporation to safeguard its intellectual property, trademarks, and reputation from counterfeiting or unauthorized use. Break-even analysis. A financial calculation used to determine the exact point at which total revenues equal total expenses, indicating when a project will begin generating profit. Bull market. An extended financial period characterized by rising asset prices, strong investor confidence, economic growth, and an optimistic outlook for corporate earnings. Business continuity. The advanced planning and preparation undertaken by an organization to ensure its critical functions can continue operating during and after a major disaster. Capacity planning. The process of determining the exact production capacity, labor resources, and infrastructure needed by an organization to meet changing demands for its products. Capital adequacy. The mandatory financial metric measuring a bank's or corporation's capital reserves relative to its risk-weighted assets to ensure long-term stability. Capital allocation. The strategic management decision of where to distribute and invest a corporation's financial resources to generate the highest possible returns for stakeholders. Capital controls. Government-imposed residency restrictions, taxes, or limits designed to regulate the flow of foreign and domestic capital into and out of a nation's financial system. Capital expenditure. The funds invested by a company to acquire, upgrade, or maintain physical assets such as property, industrial buildings, or equipment. Capital flight. A rapid, large-scale exit of financial assets, capital reserves, and investments out of a country due to geopolitical risks, hyperinflation, or sudden economic instability. Capital intensive. A term describing industries or business operations, such as manufacturing or oil refining, that require massive upfront financial investments in physical machinery and infrastructure. Carbon footprint. The total amount of greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide, released into the atmosphere as a direct result of an organization's industrial and corporate activities. Carbon neutrality. The achievement of a net zero carbon footprint by balancing generated carbon emissions with an equivalent amount of carbon removal or offsetting initiatives. Carrying cost. The total financial expense incurred by a business over a period of time to hold, store, secure, and insure unsold inventory within its warehouses. Cash flow. The net amount of cash and cash equivalents being transferred into and out of a business entity during a specific financial reporting period. Category management. A strategic approach to procurement where an organization groups similar products or services into distinct categories to optimize sourcing and maximize purchasing power. Central bank. The primary national financial institution responsible for managing a country's currency, interest rates, commercial banking system, and monetary policy. Central bank digital currency. A digital token or virtual currency issued and fully regulated by a nation's central bank, serving as an official digital version of the national fiat currency. Centralized repository. A single, unified digital storage location where an organization's critical data, documentation, files, or source code are systematically managed and accessed. Certificate of origin. An official international trade document certifying the exact country where a specific cargo or manufactured good was originally produced. Change adoption. The rate and depth at which employees and teams accept, master, and integrate new operational workflows, tools, or corporate structures into their routines. Change consulting. A specialized advisory service designed to guide enterprises through major organizational transformations, cultural overhauls, and process restructurings while minimizing employee friction. Change management. A structured approach to transitioning individuals, teams, and organizations from a current state to a desired future state to minimize disruption. Change order. A formal, legally binding amendment to an existing statement of work that adjusts the project scope, timeline, or pricing due to new requirements. Churn rate. The percentage of customers, subscribers, or users who discontinue their relationship or service agreement with a business over a specific time frame. Circular economy. An innovative economic model focused on minimizing waste, maximizing resource efficiency, and extending product life cycles through recycling, upcycling, and sustainable design. Cloud computing. The on-demand delivery of computing services, including servers, storage, databases, and software, over the internet on a flexible, pay-as-you-go basis. Co-packing. The outsourcing of product packaging, labeling, and kitting processes to a specialized third-party vendor to accelerate time to market. Code of conduct. A formalized document outlining the specific responsibilities, professional behaviors, and ethical expectations required of all employees and representatives of a firm. Cold chain. A temperature-controlled supply chain specialized in preserving and safely transporting perishable products, pharmaceuticals, and chemicals from production to end-user. Cold storage. A specialized, temperature-controlled warehousing facility utilized to preserve and prevent the spoilage of perishable foods, agricultural goods, and pharmaceuticals. Collaborative environment. A workspace culture and structure that deliberately fosters open communication, mutual support, team problem solving, and cross-departmental synergy. Collaborative planning, forecasting and replenishment. A supply chain management practice where multiple trading partners share data and market insights to synchronize their inventory and production schedules. Commercial invoice. A primary legal document issued by the seller to the buyer detailing the specific description, quantity, unit price, and total value of the goods being traded globally. Commodity. A raw material or primary agricultural product, such as gold, oil, or wheat, that can be bought and sold interchangeably with other goods of the same type. Common market. A highly integrated economic zone where member nations eliminate trade barriers and allow the completely free movement of goods, services, capital, and labor across internal borders. Communication protocol. A formal set of rules, channels, and etiquette standards governing how information is transmitted and managed internally and externally by a firm. Communication strategy. A comprehensive, structured blueprint outlining how an organization transmits vital information to its internal teams and external stakeholders effectively. Community engagement. The collaborative process where an enterprise actively communicates, partners, and builds long-term relationships with local community groups to address shared challenges. Competencies. The specific skills, knowledge, and behaviors that enable an employee or organization to perform tasks effectively and maintain a competitive advantage. Competitive advantage. The unique attributes, resources, are capabilities that allow an enterprise to outperform its market rivals and generate greater value. Compliance. The state of adhering to established laws, regulations, guidelines, and specifications relevant to an organization's industry and operations. Compliance. The internal mechanisms and oversight used by a firm to ensure adherence to relevant external laws, industry benchmarks, and internal governance frameworks. Compliance audit. An independent assessment conducted to confirm that an organization is adhering to specific external laws, industry regulations, or safety standards. Compliance automation. The strategic use of software, artificial intelligence, and automated data processing to manage regulatory reporting, transaction monitoring, and due diligence workflows. Compliance monitoring. The continuous internal tracking and review process used by a firm to ensure its day-to-day operations align with external regulations and safety protocols. Compliance officer. An executive-level employee responsible for overseeing, managing, and ensuring that an enterprise adheres to all relevant external laws and internal regulations. Compliance risk. The potential legal, financial, or reputational damage an enterprise faces when it fails to adhere to industry regulations, federal laws, or corporate standards. Conflict resolution. The systematic process of facilitating a peaceful, constructive solution to a disagreement or dispute between individual employees or business units. Consignment stock. An inventory arrangement where goods are placed at the buyer's facility, but the seller retains legal ownership until the items are officially used or sold. Consortium. An association of several separate business entities, financial institutions, or organizations joined together to execute a large-scale, resource-heavy project. Constraints. The limitations, restrictions, or bottlenecks that hinder a system or process from achieving its maximum potential or optimal throughput. Consulting. The professional practice of providing expert, objective third-party advice to help organizations improve performance, solve operational bottlenecks, and execute strategies. Consumer behavior. The psychological and behavioral study of how individual customers, groups, or organizations select, secure, use, and dispose of products and services. Containerization. A standardized system of intermodal freight transport utilizing uniform shipping containers to optimize cargo handling across ships, trains, and trucks. Contingency planning. The proactive process of developing alternative strategies and action plans to help an organization respond effectively to potential future crises or disruptions. Continuous improvement. An ongoing, long-term organizational effort to systematically improve products, services, or internal processes through incremental, small-scale upgrades over time. Contract dispute. A legal and operational disagreement between signing parties regarding the interpretation, execution, performance quality, or breach of a binding contract. Contractual obligations. The legally binding duties, tasks, and performances that each party is required to fulfill under the terms of a signed agreement. Conversion. The specific moment when a prospective customer takes a desired marketing action, such as making a purchase, signing up for a newsletter, or downloading software. Copyright. The exclusive, legal right granted to an originator or creator to print, publish, perform, film, or record literary, artistic, or musical material. Core values. The foundational and enduring principles that guide an organization's internal conduct, relationship with stakeholders, and corporate decision-making. Corporate fluency. The ability to navigate, communicate, and operate effectively within a professional business environment by mastering its unspoken rules, cultural norms, and specific terminology. Corporate governance. The comprehensive system of internal rules, structural relationships, and executive processes by which a business corporation is directed, controlled, and held accountable. Corporate responsibility. A self-regulating business model that helps a company remain socially accountable to itself, its stakeholders, and the broader public regarding environmental and social impacts. Corporate statement. An official public position or formal announcement released by an enterprise outlining its view on a specific industry event, issue, or internal update. Corporate tax. A direct tax levied by a government authority on the net profits or income generated by corporations operating within its jurisdiction during the fiscal year. Corporate transparency. The degree to which an enterprise openly and accurately shares its financial statements, executive compensation, operational practices, and environmental impacts with stakeholders. Correction. A short-term, temporary reverse movement in a stock or market index price, typically defined as a decline of 10% to 20% from its most recent peak. Cost insurance freight. A trade agreement requiring the seller to arrange and pay for the ocean transport, freight, and basic marine insurance coverage to the destination port. Counter-terrorist financing. The specific legal frameworks and tracking mechanisms used by financial intelligence units to detect and disrupt the flow of capital to terrorist organizations. Countervailing duty. A specific import tax imposed by a country to offset the unfair competitive advantage gained by foreign exporters who receive direct financial subsidies from their home governments. Country risk. The comprehensive collection of financial, political, and economic risks unique to a specific nation that could cause unexpected losses for foreign investors. Crisis communication. The specialized, rapid transmission of information and messaging designed to protect and defend an organization facing a severe public relations threat. Crisis management. The structured framework and rapid response strategy an organization deploys to deal with a sudden, disruptive event that threatens its operations or reputation. Cross-border payments. Financial transactions and fund transfers executed between individual consumers, businesses, or banking institutions located in different nations. Cross-docking. An efficient logistics technique where inbound cargo from a supplier is unloaded and transferred directly to an outbound vehicle with minimal to no long-term warehouse storage. Cross-functional. Involving individuals or teams from various departments or areas of expertise within an organization working together toward a common goal. Cryptocurrency. A decentralized digital asset or currency secured by cryptography, operating independently of any central bank or national monetary framework. Cultural alignment. The ongoing process of matching an organization's values, behaviors, and workplace environment with its strategic business goals and employee expectations. Currency option. A financial derivative contract giving the buyer the right, but not the absolute obligation, to exchange a set amount of currency at a predetermined rate within a specific timeframe. Currency risk. The potential for financial loss or diminished corporate profit margins caused by unexpected fluctuations in foreign exchange rates during international trade. Customer acquisition. The strategic process and collective activities a business employs to attract and convert new prospects into paying customers. Customer due diligence. A core banking compliance process requiring the systematic collection and verification of customer information to understand their risk profile. Customer feedback. The qualitative or quantitative data provided by buyers regarding their direct experience with a company's products, digital platforms, or support services. Customer satisfaction. A critical metric that measures how products or services supplied by a company meet or surpass a customer's expectations. Customs broker. A licensed professional or firm that assists businesses in preparing mandatory export documentation and clearing goods through government customs entry checks. Customs clearance. The mandatory process of passing goods through an official government agency to verify regulatory compliance and secure entry into a country. Customs duty. A government tax or levy imposed on imports and exports to generate revenue and protect domestic industries from foreign market penetration. Customs union. An agreement among a group of nations to completely eliminate internal trade barriers and tariffs, while enforcing a standardized, common external tariff policy on non-member imports. Customs valuation. The standardized legal procedure used by customs authorities to determine the exact economic value of imported goods for the purpose of levying duties and tariffs. Cybersecurity. The practice of protecting critical computer networks, servers, devices, software applications, and sensitive corporate data from unauthorized digital attacks or breaches. Dangerous goods. Articles or substances which are capable of posing a risk to health, safety, property, or the environment, requiring specialized labeling and material handling. Data privacy. The specific branch of data management that deals with the legal, regulatory, and ethical handling of personal and sensitive information to protect user autonomy. Data standardization. The process of bringing data into a uniform format, structure, and classification scheme to ensure consistency, accuracy, and ease of analysis across an entire enterprise. Debt restructuring. A financial process that allows an enterprise or national government facing insolvency to renegotiate the terms of its liabilities to improve immediate cash flow. Debt structuring. The process of organizing and optimizing the terms, interest rates, and repayment schedules of an organization's loans and liabilities to maximize financial health. Decentralized finance. An innovative financial ecosystem built on blockchain technology that eliminates traditional intermediaries like banks and brokers, facilitating peer-to-peer financial transactions. Defect rate. The statistical percentage of products or outputs that fail to meet predefined quality specifications and engineering standards within a production batch. Deliverable. A tangible or intangible product, report, or service created as an outcome of a project and meant to be handed over to a stakeholder. Deliverables. The quantifiable goods, services, or reports that must be completed and submitted to fulfill the obligations of a project or contract. Delivered duty paid. A shipping arrangement where the seller assumes maximum responsibility, including all transport costs, risks, and customs clearance duties up to the buyer's destination. Demand forecasting. The predictive process of estimating future customer demand for a product or service using historical data, market trends, and statistical analysis. Demographics. The statistical data relating to the characteristics of a population, such as age, gender, income, education level, and geographic location, used to target consumers. Demurrage. A penalty fee levied by shipping lines when a cargo container is left sitting inside a port terminal beyond the allotted free time allowed for customs clearance. Deployment. The phase in the software development lifecycle where an application, system update, or digital infrastructure is officially pushed into a live production environment. Depreciation. The accounting method used to systematically allocate the cost of a tangible physical asset over its estimated useful lifestyle or operational lifespan. Derivative. A complex financial contract whose value is entirely dependent upon, or derived from, the performance of an underlying asset, index, or interest rate. Detention. An operational charge imposed by a carrier when a shipper retains an intermodal container or trailer outside of a port terminal longer than the prearranged return time. Development finance. The strategic allocation of public and private investment capital into sustainable projects in emerging economies to foster long-term economic growth. Differentiation. The strategic marketing process of distinguishing a company's product or service from its competitors by highlighting unique benefits and superior value. Digital asset. Any item, file, text, or financial token that exists completely in a digital format and possesses distinct economic value or ownership rights. Digital banking. The complete digitization of traditional banking services, allowing customers to execute transactions, open accounts, and manage wealth via online platforms or mobile apps. Digital transformation. The profound integration of digital technology into all areas of a business, fundamentally changing how operations are conducted and value is delivered to clients. Direct spend. The financial expenditure allocated to acquiring raw materials, components, and goods that are directly incorporated into the manufacturing of a company's final product. Diseconomies of scale. The economic phenomenon where an organization becomes so large and complex that its per unit production costs begin to rise rather than decrease. Disruption. A radical industry transformation caused by an innovation or technology that renders existing business models, products, or services obsolete. Distributed ledger. A digital consensus system for tracking and synchronizing asset transactions across multiple decentralized geographical locations without a central authority. Distribution. The strategic process of moving, storing, and marketing goods from the point of manufacture to the final point of consumption. Diversity. The deliberate inclusion of individuals representing a broad range of unique human traits, backgrounds, ethnicities, genders, orientations, experiences, and perspectives within a workforce. Documentary collection. An international trade finance procedure where a seller instructs their bank to forward shipping documents to the buyer's bank only after securing payment or a signed draft. Double taxation treaty. A bilateral agreement signed between two nations to prevent the same income or corporation from being taxed twice by both jurisdictions. Downstream. The final stages of a supply chain involving the processing, distribution, and direct sale of finished products to the end consumer. Dual sourcing. The strategic supply chain practice of using two distinct suppliers to provide the same component or material to mitigate the risk of stockouts. Dual-use goods. Commercial materials, software applications, or technical hardware that can be utilized for both civilian applications and military or weapon development. Due diligence. The comprehensive investigation, audit, or review performed to verify facts and assess financial risks before entering into an agreement or transaction with another party. Duty drawback. A financial relief mechanism allowing companies to claim a refund on customs duties previously paid for imported materials that are subsequently exported or manufactured into export products. Eco-friendly. A descriptive term for products, services, or manufacturing processes that cause minimal or no harm to the environment and natural ecosystems. Economic indicators. Key statistical data points, such as gross domestic product and inflation rates, used by analysts and executives to evaluate the health and direction of a market economy. Economic integration. An economic arrangement among distinct nations characterized by the gradual reduction or total elimination of trade barriers and coordination of monetary policies. Economic order quantity. A mathematical formula used in inventory management to calculate the optimal order size that minimizes total inventory holding and ordering costs. Economic sanctions. Commercial and financial penalties applied by one or more countries against a targeted, self-governing state, group, or individual for geopolitical reasons. Economic union. An advanced form of economic integration where member nations eliminate internal trade barriers, establish a common external tariff, allow free movement of labor, and adopt a unified currency. Economies of scale. The cost advantages and per unit savings that a business obtains due to its size, scale of operation, or increased volume of production. Emerging markets. Developing economies characterized by rapid industrialization, growing consumer infrastructure, and high potential for foreign direct investment and business expansion. Emissions standard. The legally mandated limit on the maximum amount of air pollutants and greenhouse gases that commercial vehicles and industrial factories are allowed to discharge. Encryption. The security process of converting sensitive information or data into an unreadable, coded format that can only be accessed or decrypted with a specific digital key. Enhanced due diligence. An intensive, highly rigorous compliance investigation reserved for high-risk clients, politically exposed persons, or large-scale corporate accounts to uncover hidden risks. Enterprise. A large-scale business organization or corporate entity characterized by complex structures, extensive resources, and broad market presence. Enterprise resource planning. An integrated software platform utilized by corporations to manage and coordinate core business processes, including finance, HR, procurement, and supply chain logistics. Environmental governance. The specific rules, policies, and corporate frameworks that regulate how an enterprise interacts with and impacts the natural environment. Environmental impact. The measurable effect, both positive and negative, that an enterprise's operations, manufacturing processes, and logistics have on surrounding ecosystems. Environmental, social, and governance. A comprehensive framework used by modern investors and corporations to evaluate an organization's performance, ethical practices, and sustainability footprint across three core areas. Equity. The commitment to ensuring fair treatment, equality of opportunity, and balanced access to advancement and resources for every individual within an organization. Equity financing. The process of raising capital for business operations or expansion by selling shares of company stock to public investors or institutional venture capital firms. ESG rating. An objective score or grade assigned to a corporation by independent analytical agencies evaluating its overall exposure to and management of environmental, social, and governance risks. Ethical standards. The core set of moral principles, values, and guidelines that dictate acceptable professional behavior and decision-making within an organization. Ex works. An international trade term specifying that the seller's sole obligation is to make the goods available at their own premises, leaving all transportation costs and risks to the buyer. Exchange rate regime. The specific framework or system chosen by a government authority to manage, float, or peg the value of its domestic currency against foreign currencies. Execution. The systematic process of carrying out a plan, strategy, or task efficiently to achieve specific organizational objectives. Executive compensation. The strategic financial package, combining base salary, short-term bonuses, stock options, and long-term incentives, provided to C-suite leaders. Executive presence. The distinct blend of communication skills, poise, confidence, and leadership traits that projects authority and inspires trust among senior leaders. Export controls. Government regulations and legal frameworks that restrict the international shipment of specific technologies, dual-use goods, and weapons to protect national security. Export credit insurance. A specialized insurance policy that protects international exporters against the risk of non-payment by foreign buyers due to commercial or political reasons. Export documentation. The specialized collection of official legal paperwork, certificates, and invoices required by customs authorities to clear goods for international trade. Factoring. A financial transaction where a business sells its accounts receivable or outstanding invoices to a third-party commercial financial institution at a slight discount to raise immediate cash. Fair trade. An institutional movement and business practice advocating for payment of fair prices, ethical working conditions, and social sustainability for producers in developing regions. False positives. Erroneous alerts generated during automated compliance or fraud screening that mistake a completely legitimate transaction or individual for a risk threat. Feasibility study. An analytical assessment that evaluates the technical, financial, legal, and operational viability of a proposed project or business venture before investing capital. Fiduciary duty. The highest legal and ethical obligation of a professional, trustee, or advisor to act solely in the best financial interests of their client or beneficiaries. Financial advisory. Professional services that guide corporate entities or individual investors through asset allocation, capital budgeting, debt structuring, and merger evaluations. Financial inclusion. The ongoing structural effort to ensure that individuals and small enterprises have accessible, affordable access to useful and sustainable financial products. Financial intelligence. The gathering, systematic analysis, and monitoring of financial transaction data to identify potential cases of tax evasion, money laundering, or fraud. Financial stability. A state where an economic system's financial institutions, markets, and infrastructure are resilient to shocks and can efficiently allocate capital without disruption. Financing. The strategic process of securing, managing, and allocating capital funds from various sources to support business operations, expansions, or project investments. Fintech, an abbreviation for financial technology, referring to innovative software, automation, and algorithms used to optimize and automate traditional financial services. Fiscal discipline, the practice of maintaining strict restraint, oversight, and strategic balance in an organization's spending, budgeting, and debt management. Fiscal policy, the strategic use of government spending, capital allocation, and tax policy to influence macroeconomic conditions and steer national economic growth. Fiscal year, a continuous 12-month period utilized by a business or government for budgeting, financial reporting, and tax planning purposes. Fixed costs, operational expenses, such as rent, insurance, or salaries, that remain constant regardless of the volume of goods or services a business produces. Fleet management, the administrative and operational supervision of an organization's commercial vehicles, focused on maintenance schedules, safety compliance, and fuel tracking. Fleet optimization, the process of maximizing the efficiency, fuel economy, and route selection of an organization's commercial vehicles to lower overhead logistics costs. Flexible automation, a manufacturing approach utilizing robotic systems and programmable machinery that can easily adapt to produce different product types or design alterations. Foreign direct investment, an investment made by a firm or individual in one country into business interests, infrastructure projects, or acquisitions located in another nation. Foreign exchange, the global decentralized market network where international currencies are traded, converted, and valued against one another. Foresight, the ability to anticipate future trends, market shifts, risks, and opportunities to make proactive and informed strategic decisions. Forfaiting, a specialized trade finance mechanism where an exporter sells their medium to long-term, unconditional receivables to a financial specialist for immediate cash, giving up recourse rights. Forward contract, a customized, non-standardized financial agreement between two parties to buy or sell an asset or currency at a specific price on a predetermined future date. Forward-looking statements, predictive commentary or financial forecasts provided by corporate executives regarding future trends, investments, or plans, accompanied by legal risk disclaimers. Free on board, a specific shipping term indicating that the seller fulfills their delivery obligation when the goods pass over the ship's rail at the named port of shipment, transferring risk to the buyer. Free trade agreement, a treaty between two or more countries designed to reduce or eliminate trade barriers, tariffs, and import quotas to encourage cross-border commerce. Free trade area, a designated grouping of nations that have signed a treaty to eliminate internal tariffs, quotas, and trade barriers while allowing each country to maintain its own independent external tariff policies. Free trade zone, a specifically designated geographic area where businesses can land, handle, manufacture, and re-export goods without the direct intervention of national customs authorities or standard tariffs. Freight consolidation, a shipping logistics strategy where multiple small cargo shipments are combined into a single, larger transport load to achieve lower freight rates. Freight forwarding, a service industry that arranges and manages the safe, efficient transportation of cargo across international borders on behalf of shippers. Fuel efficiency, the measure of how effectively a commercial vehicle converts fuel into distance. A key factor in reducing operational logistics costs and carbon emissions. Fulfillment. The complete operational sequence of receiving, processing, packing, and shipping an order to a customer after a purchase has been made. Full truckload. A freight arrangement where an entire semi-truck trailer is dedicated exclusively to a single shipper's cargo, typically resulting in faster transit times. Futures contract. A legally binding agreement to buy or sell a specific commodity, asset, or security at a predetermined price at a specified date in the future. Geopolitical risk. The potential risk and operational instability faced by an international enterprise due to political shifts, international conflicts, or military events in a specific market region. Global logistics. The planning, execution, and management of the movement of goods, information, and resources across international borders. Global Reporting Initiative. An independent international organization that provides highly standardized frameworks and metrics for corporate sustainability reporting and environmental impact disclosures. Global value chain. The full sequence of international activities, from raw material sourcing and design to final assembly and distribution, spread across multiple countries to bring a product to market. Globalization. The historical and economic process of increasing interconnectedness and integration among businesses, cultures, and economies on a worldwide scale. Glocalization. A hybrid business strategy where an enterprise maintains a global brand presence but adapts its specific products and services to fit local market preferences. Go-to-market. An organizational execution plan outlining how a company will launch a new product, reach its target audience, and achieve a sustainable competitive advantage. Goods and services tax. An integrated, multi-stage consumption tax levied on the sale of most goods and services within a national economy. Governance. The framework of rules, relationships, systems, and processes by which corporations are directed, controlled, and held accountable. Governance framework. The comprehensive system of principles, corporate structures, and accountability mechanisms that dictate how an enterprise is managed and directed. Green bonds. Specialized fixed-income financial instruments created explicitly to raise capital funds for new or existing projects that deliver distinct environmental and climate benefits. Green initiatives. Targeted internal or external programs launched by a business to promote environmental conservation, reduce carbon emissions, and implement eco-friendly operations. Gross domestic product. The comprehensive metric representing the total monetary value of all finished goods and services produced within a nation's borders over a specific timeframe. Guidance. A formal estimate or public forecast provided by a corporate leadership team regarding its expected future earnings, revenues, and market conditions for upcoming quarters. Harmonization. The process of aligning different standards, processes, regulations, or cultures to ensure consistency and minimize conflict across a unified system. HAZMAT. An abbreviation for hazardous materials, referring to dangerous substances, chemicals, or materials that pose risk to health, safety, or property during transportation. Hedging. A risk management financial strategy that involves taking an offsetting position in a related asset or security to balance potential price fluctuations. Hedging instruments. Specialized financial contracts, such as forward contracts and currency options, used by corporations to protect against adverse market and exchange rate shifts. Hedging strategy. A deliberate risk management method that utilizes options, futures contracts, or inverse assets to minimize potential losses from adverse price shifts. Hub and spoke. A distribution network model consisting of a centralized main facility, the hub, that connects to and services multiple smaller destination points, the spokes. Human capital. The collective value of an organization's workforce, encompassing their skills, knowledge, experience, creativity, and intellectual contribution to the enterprise. Human rights. The fundamental rights and moral protections that belong inherently to every individual, which corporations must protect across their global workforces and supply chains. Hybrid model. A flexible corporate workplace strategy that allows employees to divide their working time between working remotely and commuting to a physical office. Impact investing. An investment strategy aimed at generating measurable, beneficial social or environmental impacts alongside a competitive financial return. Impact measurement. The systematic, quantitative and qualitative assessment of the specific environmental and social changes generated by a business's targeted investments or operations. Implementation. The structured process of executing, building, or putting a defined plan, software system, or organizational policy into active operation. Inclusion. The practice of creating a supportive work environment where all employees feel valued, respected, psychologically safe, and empowered to contribute fully. Income statement. A critical financial document that summarizes a business's revenues, costs, and expenses incurred over a specific reporting period to reflect net profitability. Incoterms. A set of standardized rules published by the International Chamber of Commerce defining the precise allocation of costs and risks between buyers and sellers in global trade. Independent directors. Board members who possess no material, financial, or employment relationships with the corporation, ensuring completely unbiased governance and ethical oversight. Indirect spend. The corporate expenditure on goods and services required to support daily business operations but not directly embedded in final products, such as office supplies and IT support. Inflation rate. The statistical percentage rate at which the general level of prices for consumer goods and services rises over time, subsequently eroding purchasing power. Infrastructure. The foundational framework of physical facilities, software systems, networks, and technical architecture required to sustain an enterprise's operations. Infrastructure project. A large-scale, capital-intensive engineering development focused on building critical foundational facilities such as highways, bridges, water treatment plants, or power grids. Initial public offering. The landmark financial event where a private corporation offers its shares to the public on a stock exchange for the first time to raise capital. Innovation. The introduction of a new or significantly improved product, service, process, or business model that creates value for an organization and its customers. Insider trading. The illegal practice of buying or selling a publicly traded company's stock while in possession of confidential, non-public material information about the firm. Institutional investors. Large organizations, such as pension funds, insurance companies, mutual funds, and endowments, that invest substantial pools of capital into the financial markets. Integrated reporting. A modern corporate reporting framework that combines traditional financial performance metrics with environmental, social, and governance (ESG) insights to showcase long-term value creation. Integration. The process of bringing together distinct systems, departments, or corporate cultures to function as a unified, cohesive whole. Intellectual property. Creations of the human intellect, such as inventions, artistic works, designs, symbols, names, and images, that are legally protected from unauthorized use. Interest rate. The proportion of a loan that is charged as interest to the borrower, typically expressed as an annual percentage of the loan outstanding, determined by central bank monetary policy. Interface. The point of interaction, boundary, or shared space where two systems, or a human user and a computer software application, communicate and exchange information. Intermodal container. A standardized, durable steel shipping box engineered to transport cargo seamlessly across different shipping lanes, rail networks, and trucking fleets. Intermodal shipping. The process of transporting cargo from origin to destination using a sequence of distinct freight modes, such as rail, truck, and ocean vessel, without unpacking the container.